In 5 minutes, I'm going to give you 5 easy tips to help improve your writing skills and help you become a better travel blogger. But before you begin counting those minutes, let's run the intro. What's up, my beautiful people? It's so great to have you here again and to see all your smiley, happy faces. Welcome to yet another video. Most of us, travel blogging is a hobby, but even still, we want to have an impact with the kind of stories and content that we write. Of course, this impact can be educative. It could be inspiring a particular behavior. It could be motivating people to visit particular places. It might as well be intended to demystify a particular subject. Well, my name is Jonathan and I have been writing for the past 7 years, but I only began my blog about 3 years ago. Along the way, I have tried out so many different things. I've been to quite a number of places, but I've also learned a great deal along this journey, and the most important thing is that I am still learning. So here are 5 tips that I have tried out, and I encourage you to try them out, perhaps beginning with your next article. So tip number 1 is to research. You do not have to be the world's expert on everything. But having said that, the reason you start an article about a particular experience is because you not only want people to read to the end, but you also want to give them as much information as possible about a particular place, maybe a particular activity, of course with the intention that you want to keep them on your website. At the end of the day, you do not want them going to another website to look for information. The best part of knowing what you're talking about is if you have experienced it first time, so that would be a good place to start. But even after that, the second part of it is to actually research about it. Read stuff that's relevant about your topic, about your trip. It could be if you are writing a piece for maybe backpackers and you want to have some prior research about backpacking guidebooks, or maybe look up some travel websites. Maybe go through some news archives. You could still maybe look up what other travel writers have written about that particular subject or that particular destination. I'd say research before, research during your trip, and then research also after the trip. Tip number 2. I've had chats with a couple of friends, especially those who are new to the game, and for most of them they say, okay, I'll just get my pen down a long paragraph. Maybe talks about I went to the field, I had plenty of things to write about. So you come up with a big, long idea with crazy adjectives, which might sound nice to you, but they might not be too easy for the readers to believe or to connect with. Those kinds of intros where you throw in adjectives, where you want to sound all fancy, those are good for readers who followed you for some time and who know the type of style that you write. But for people that are starting out and you are looking to get people to read your content more, you are going to want to start with something that would capture the attention of the person that is reading that particular article. But how about, let me just give you an idea of how you would do that. You could spend a few more minutes thinking about what the peak points of your trip were. Maybe choose a strong narration of something that took place, something crazy that took place during the trip. You could choose something that best sums up the trip. Well, when you do that, what it does, then it immediately takes your audience or your readers to the center of why they clicked on that particular article, why they opened that particular page in a magazine to read about your article. So you've not only presented what you intend to present to them, but you have given them something to look forward to in the article. So tip number 3, answer the 6 important questions. So you might be wondering, what are the 6 important questions? The questions are where, why, what, how, when, and who. So when we talk about where, here we're talking about where is this cool place that you are talking about? Why is it worth visiting? What is the cost of going there? And if you are writing something particular to a niche, it could be for budget travelers, then you would want to go an extra mile to also specify as much as possible about what important costs they need to know, with a few disclaimers here and there about the possibility for the prices to change depending on what time of the year they are traveling. Then if you go to the how, you're answering the question of how to get there. When, you're answering the question of when is the best time to go there. And then who is getting them ready for the trip. So who should they expect to find there, or who should they look out for or look forward to when they visit the destination or that particular attraction that you want them to visit. Tip number 4 is harness the power of people's stories. So we often get lost in talking about how the experience was for ourselves, how we enjoyed the trip, which is usually very important because then people can relate with that, because then you're talking from a point of you did not hear but you actually experienced it. But nothing lights up a piece better than narrations from what your tour guide said, or maybe what the taxi chap said, or maybe what the guy at the roadside said while you were walking to a waterfall. Do not ignore those conversations with fellow tourists. It could be a chat with a local man at the craft shop, or the women taking a bath in a hot spring, or the shy girl who served you a chapati or some local food at a restaurant. Those conversations add the special punch. Oh, yeah, punch, yeah. And this is what changes your story from what any fiction writer would have penned down to what real people would have said in a real life situation. Because as a travel blogger, you're writing about things that exist, or rather things that you have experienced, or things that people have experienced, or things that you want people to experience. So that then adds flavor to the piece, and then it makes it easier for people to kind of relate with. Well, you'd want to do this as much as you can. Keep it natural, keep it personal, and of course avoid being mechanic. Then lastly for today, tip number 5 is keep the facts in check. Now this one is very important. Accuracy is very, very important. If you get key facts wrong, not only do you look an idiot, but even worse, so does your blog and maybe the article that you are writing about. There is the luxury of using an editor, but not many of us can afford editors to read through or proofread our articles. But even still, for those that can afford an editor, you cannot leave all the fact checking and all the proofreading and each and everything that needs to get the article from here to there to an individual, because they are human as well. It's quite possible for them to also miss something. Things like pricing, distances, what to expect, names of places, names of hotels are very critical to ensure that you get those correctly. You don't want to be like one of those fake news websites. You want to verify as much as possible the information that you are giving out to your audience. Of course, you might be relying on something a local man said, which might end up not being correct. But when you are faced by such situations, then it is always important for you to quote, or rather say that this was based on a conversation with a local man. Yeah, so that cushioning yourself to some extent. Biggest mistake, or rather the worst situation you ever want to put yourself in, is giving out information that cannot be defended at the end of the day. Fortunately, there are some good information sources online today. Good practice to do is for you to carry out a quick comparison check among different websites. It could be the local tourism board website, or you might want to check if it's, for example, a national park, then you're looking up the Wildlife Authority's website. And then you can still back it up with that website, which might be maybe a fellow travel blogger's website, maybe someone you respect or someone you trust who has been there before, and you can use that to check some of the facts that you aren't so sure about. But having said that, there are various tips that you can still use to self-edit, which I do a lot as well, because as I said, not all of us can afford having an editor. One useful tip that I use, actually you might call them two, but I use them together. It's whenever I write an article and at the end of the piece, I've reached a point where I'm pretty much satisfied with what I've come up with, I'll close the document, put it away for a full day, and by this I actually mean put it away, do not look at it again, get as far away from it for a full day. Now when I return to it the following day, I come with a much fresher mind, and what I do then at that point is I vocalize it. So I'll open it up, read it out loud, and at that point is when I'll realize so many mistakes that I might have made and I might not have seen the previous day when I was just typing it out. So I encourage you guys to also try that tip. So write the article, put it away for a day, stay as far away from it for a full day, then return to it and read it out loud, vocalize it. I use the word vocalize it, so read it out loud, and it will help you identify areas that you need to correct. Yeah, so looking back at the tips that I've shared, they might seem overwhelming for you to implement. You might be thinking that, oh, this is gonna be quite frustrating to have any fun if I'm just going to have to think about answering maybe the 6 questions of the how, why, when. But don't overstrain it. I told you at the beginning of the video that we're all on a learning journey, and some of these things, actually with any principle in life, you have to work at it every day if you are going to improve. So don't overstrain it. Go out for the trip, go have fun, but plan to have a notebook, or rather do something that I do, because I don't enjoy running around with a notebook, because I have my camera, then I usually have like a microphone as well. So what I do is I'll use my phone to take down some notes, or I'll just use it as an audio recorder. Of course, the reason I do that is just so I do not miss any peak moments during the trip, which then form the basis of what kind of intros or openers to an article I can use when I get back to the city to begin writing my story. Yeah, so do let me know in the comment box below if you found any of these tips useful, or if you used any of these tips in the pieces that you do. And you might have some interesting tips as well that you might want to share with the community. So go ahead and hit me up in the comment box below. I would be interested in knowing how you guys come up with interesting travel stories. So if you found this video useful, please be kind enough to hit the like button, I guess to my right. And if you're new to the channel, please do hit the subscribe button to my left. And if you are fine with getting a notification buzz whenever I upload something new, then do hit the bell to my left as well. That ensures that you get a notification that pops up whenever I upload new content. But for now, I'd like to thank you so very much for watching today, and I will see you in the next one.